Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, good dawn, good dusk, good night, good noon, good desk. Welcome to The Long Shot. It is a podcast. I am your host. My name is Sean Conroy. With me today on the show is no one. No one is here except me. I am all alone. Amber is in Mexico for a wedding, or so she says, leaving me here by myself. A couple of quick things to get to, and then we'll be back next week. Here's the first thing. I had a problem with my left front tire in my car. The light on my dashboard went on that said that the car tire pressure was low. It was down to 24 or 25 or 26 PSI, depending on the temperature outside and the amount of time I had spent on the road. But I knew that that was too low. I knew, without even checking, I knew that the tire pressure should be somewhere between 30 and 35 PSI. And in case you don't know what PSI stands for, it stands for pro sedimentary insurance. You don't want your car to settle too much. So I knew I needed to put some air into the tire. I went to a service station. I attached the air hose to the little thing that sticks out of your tire. As you can tell, I'm very familiar with technical terms. I filled the tire a bit, and I was like, that probably does it. I'm guessing that does it. I didn't have a tire gauge, so I figured that was probably that probably brought the tire up to about 34 PSIs or 35, but right general area. Got back in the car, started driving again. It was still at 24, 25, so still low. It's a problem. So I, of course, didn't deal with it right away, but a couple of days later, I went back to another service station. I call it a service station, not a gas station, because they provide a variety of services, including very expensive gas. Thanks, Joe Biden, for jacking up the price of gas and giving the oil companies billions in profits while the rest of us drive around angry. But it will be a bloodbath in the midterm election. So I again attached the hose to the little thingy that sticks out of your tire and filled it up with air, figuring that this time it probably got my PS and my I all the way up to where it needed to be. I did it for a little bit longer this time. Again, eyeballing it, but not even really eyeballing it, because eyeballing means you're looking at it. And I was not looking at it. I was just, what was I? I guess I was just guessing. I was guessing 100% going, that probably does it. Kept inflating the tire. Figured it was about done by earballing it, and got back in the car, and it was still at 24, 25, 26. So there's a problem. There's a problem with the tire, or maybe with the computer, I started to think. Maybe the dashboard is what's off. So now I needed to find a place where I knew there was somebody who was an expert on this stuff. And there's a service station down the hill from my house that I've been to numerous times, although it has changed ownership. Apparently, it shut down during the pandemic, and there are new owners. So I drove up to that service station, and I walked out in front of the garage there, and the guy in the garage did not have any interest in dealing with me and waved me over to the office area. I went to the office area, and there was clearly somebody in the office, but the door was closed and there was no way to open it. from the outside. I could not, it didn't open. So I was kind of just stuck out there waiting until it was communicated from the guy in the garage to the guy in the office. And I don't know how they would communicate. I'm not sure how you would access that office from anywhere. Maybe there was a trap door. Anyway, eventually the guy in the office came out to see what was going on. He had long, wild, curly hair, he looked like Tom Hanks in Castaway, maybe, or at least like the volleyball. And he was also smoking a cigarette. And what I realized when I saw this guy smoking a cigarette is that smoking a cigarette, to me, because I watch a lot of television, is such an indicator of character at this point. In other words, when you see a character smoking on television, you know immediately that they are weak and they make bad decisions. So this guy had his cigarette in his mouth, and I instantly knew who this character was supposed to be as soon as he entered the scene. And he said, "What's the problem?" And I said, "Well, I have a left." I always like to explain things carefully and slowly because people's tendency is to immediately think they know what you're going to say and jump to a conclusion. So I try my best to say very clearly and carefully and slowly, this is the problem. So I said, I have a left front tire. And obviously I was speaking too slowly because he immediately took the cigarette out of his mouth and said, "Congratulations. Glad to hear it." So I knew we were off to a great start. But I try to be friendly in those situations. And I chuckled. I chuckled appreciatively at his witticism that I would just say something like, "I have a left front tire. That's a problem," is what he was implying. When clearly that would not be a thing that I would come in to complain about. So I enjoyed his banter, or at least I indicated to him that I was enjoying his banter. And then I said, the tire is low. The pressure, the PSI, the pressure, the air on the tire is low. And I filled it, and then I filled it again, and it has not changed in terms of, and he said, "What is your PSI supposed to be?" And now I knew I was in trouble, because what I should have done, because I did look this up before I left my house, was I looked on the computer and it said there is a sticker on the inside of your door that will tell you exactly what your PSI is supposed to be. Just open the driver's side door and there's a sticker right there. But I had not looked at that sticker. And the guy said, "What is your PSI supposed to be?" I said, "Somewhere between 30 and 35. And he goes, "There's an exact number on the inside of the door right here." And I said, "I do indeed know that. And yet I have not sought that information. Perhaps we could look at that together right now and see specifically." So we looked. Car was supposed to be at 33. That was specifically what the PSI, the postscript information, was supposed to be, 33. So he got a gauge, and he checked the tire pressure, and it was at 65. So in fact, those two times that I had put air in, it had overinflated the tire tremendously, and there actually was not a leak. There was not a problem. The problem was in the onboard, dashboard, outboard, inboard computer. So he said, "It's at 65. I said, keeping up our Oscar Wilde level of back and forth witticisms, I said, "Well, it's a good thing the tire didn't explode in my face when I was filling it." And he very slowly took the cigarette out of his mouth and looked up at me through the curtain of his castaway hair and said, funny. Boy, it just goes on. So anyway, we figured it all out. And what I thought was really funny was that this guy was clearly furious at me for not figuring this out on my own. Oh, he asked me, he was like, how do you reset this onboard computer? And I was like, I honestly don't know. I don't know. I've only had the car for a little while. I used to have a 2005 Toyota Corolla that did not have a computer, had nothing to reset. So I'm not totally familiar with this whole complicated onboard system thing. And he just was very angry. And I think it's funny to be angry at someone who is asking you to do your job, who's coming to you as a consultant because you ostensibly know what you are doing. So that was one fun thing that happened this week. Cigarettes, yeah, they're an indicator of character. I feel that way about reading glasses as well. I feel that when you, and tell me if you think I'm right about this, please email us, tweet at me, tweet at Amber. Send Amber a tweet and tell her how you feel about this. She'll have no idea what you're talking about. She's not going to listen to this episode because she was in Mexico for a wedding. But I think that there's a whole thing now in television where when people put on their reading glasses, it's to indicate that they are taking something seriously. That's what I perceive it as opposed to, there's an old school reading glasses thing, which is like Chuck Schumer, where it just makes you look like a goofy old person that you wear reading glasses all the time. But there is a new element where people will sort of reach into their pocket and pull out. So anyway, that's another whole thing that's going on. And then the last thing I'll say is I want to know, I've talked about this before, how when I was at a friend of a friend's place outside of Austin, Texas, for Thanksgiving in 2017, when I was on tour, I went to Thanksgiving at my good friend's house. And this was, what was it? I guess November. When does Thanksgiving happen? It was November of 2017. So Trump had been in office for a year. And this guy, at some point during Thanksgiving dinner, I think after his wife and kids had gone to bed, he said, there has never been a president in the history of this country who was so divisive as Barack Obama. And it shocked me, but I realize in retrospect that there are a lot of people who feel that way and that they see Obama as incredibly divisive because of things he was saying and because of who he was, quite frankly. And I guess my question this week, and by the way, that guy who I had Thanksgiving dinner with in Austin, or outside of, it was like 30 miles outside of Austin. He was from where I had first met him. He was from Buffalo, New York. And so we've obviously had this horrible tragedy happen in Buffalo this week. And I want to know, why is Joe Biden being so divisive? Why is he criticizing the Republicans for fomenting racism and all this difficulty with the Great Replacement theory? He ran as a uniter. And I don't see criticizing people as being particularly uniting. So I don't know that his approach is correct. This is one of those times I really wish Amber was here so she could push back and we could sort of get into this and get into the fact that I'm being sarcastic. But of course, that doesn't really work when I'm by myself. It just sounds like I am agreeing with Tucker Carlson. But I guess that's the whole thing now, is the right wing all saying, why is Biden being so divisive? He's supposed to be such a uniter. He said he was going to be a uniter, and he's being so divisive. And I guess the way I see that is that it's kind of funny that Biden did run on saying, I want us to work together. And then he was elected and he said, hey, Republicans, let's work together. And the Republicans said, go fuck yourself. Take this, take these desktop accoutrements. I don't know. I'm picturing them sitting in their offices and saying, like, take these pens and pencils and pencil sharpeners and this telephone and shove it up your fucking ass, Joe Biden. Go fuck yourself. And then Biden goes, well, I guess they don't want to work together, so screw them. And the Republicans go, whoa, why are you being so divisive? Why aren't you trying to unite with us? Come on, man. It's maddening. It's maddening. But I will say, some tiny, tiny bit of good news that won't in the long run make a tremendous amount of difference. But it does look like it's Tuesday night. It does look like Madison Cawthorn is losing in his election. So that would be nice to get rid of at least one absolutely unqualified lunatic in Congress. Anyway, this is the long shot. Like I said, short one this week. It's a long shot, short shot, because Amber is not here. And she will be back next week. I will be here next week. Again, let her know how you feel about people with reading glasses. It's very important that she hear this from all of you. And yeah, please come back next week. We will see you next time on The Long Shot. Thanks for tuning in. And if you got this far, God bless.
The early aughts were the ready or nots, the assortment of soon-to-be sunspots, the early underscore of my third favorite part of you. I guess you've undone me, I guess it's unfunny to say what you're doing, but not what you do. I'd like you to love me, but not from above me, from up in front where the light shines through. Well, first you're a homeowner, then you're a comb over, checking your license to confirm you're an organ donor.